This is SME on Point. My name is Liabo Setho. Good afternoon. This week, the second week of SME on Point in 2020, SME on Point comes to you from Davos in Switzerland on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Africa. This is the 50th anniversary of the World Economic Forum. And we thought that, it would be fitting to have SME on Point here because great conversations are being held here, particularly with regards to climate change. And in fact, delegates, as they walk about and do their business, there have been some exhibitors such as Julia Lohmann, who has founded the Department of Seaweed in Finland, and she's making jewelry using that. This is Julia's story. The benefits of seaweed, both for mankind and the ecosystem, have been researched and reported on widely. But designer and artist Julia Lohmann and her team have gone further than that. On the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, she has set up an exhibition stand here to show delegates just how far seaweed can go. This includes allowing them to try their hand at designing creative pieces using seaweed.
I've been doing this with seaweed for 11 years or 12 years even, really developing seaweed as a material for making because it's so fascinating to me and because it grows 6 meters long, some types of seaweed, 30 centimeters wide in 1 year and cleans the ocean while it does. So I really am inspired by this, and that's why I founded the Department of Seaweed, to really share knowledge around the sustainable development of seaweed as a material for making.
Julia says a healthy ecosystem is closely linked to a healthy social system, and that humankind suffers if there's an imbalance between the two.
Seaweed can be used to pull out some of the excess fertilizer that come into the ocean through the rivers and that otherwise cause unchecked algal blooms and really cause kind of the ecosystem to be imbalanced. For humans, seaweed can be fantastic. It's a superfood, it's full of minerals, it's full of really good things, but also I think we can use it to make things from it. And there the health benefit is that if we develop materials out of it that do not have toxins, that are perhaps biodegradable, that are really good for overall health and all these systems, then we can really improve our ecological footprint, and we can really create these win-win situations where the social situation supports the ecological and vice versa.
She says the problems that humanity face need a collaboration, since no single person can solve them alone.
To develop the seaweed as a material, I need knowledge from chemists, I need knowledge from ecosystem specialists, from marine biologists, from material scientists, from designers, from artisans, from fashion designers, and so forth. So I'm calling out to people to say, yeah, this sounds amazing, let's be in collaboration, let's work together, and always, grow a communal base of knowledge of how to work with seaweed, but then always apply it to the locality, because in every place there is a different kind of seaweed, there is a different kind of social situation. So I want to weave in into local crafts the possibility of combining them with seaweed and work with artisans so that there is a local benefit in the local life cycle there.
With her creative streak, she built a dome out of seaweed that delegates could use to catch their breath. In between the busy 4-day conference, she calls on other creative designers to borrow from nature and see how much further they can be creative. Liabo Setho, Davos, Switzerland. How awesome is that? Thank you to Julia Lohmann for sharing her story with us. As usual, we have a guest with us, and I thought that it was also quite fitting, to speak to one of the WEF global shapers. Her name is Wanjohi Njoroge. She is an entrepreneur, and she's also a WEF global shaper. So global shapers are a network of young and influential people who drive dialogue and change. And I'm sure you're sitting at home as an entrepreneur, you want to know how you can take part in such a big conference such as World Economic Forum, and how it can benefit your business. Let's find out from Wanjohi how her business has benefited from her being a WEF global shaper. Wanjohi, thank you so much for joining us on SME on Point. This has been an interesting conference of the World Economic Forum. Tell us about your role as a WEF Global Shaper. What exactly do you have to do, and how does one get to be a WEF Global Shaper?
Thank you very much. The Global Shapers community is a community for everybody. I was born and brought up in a small village at the foot of Mount Kenya, and the only reason I'm here today is because I went to school and gained an education. And so, being a child of the village, I have found a platform on the global stage. And when I come here, they don't tell me this is what you say or this is not what you say. When you come here, as long as you're a global shaper, you become one of us. So we are based in cities, and anybody can apply as long as you're impacting society in one way or another. At the time when I was joining, I was working with rural communities, assisting them to increase transition from primary school to high school, and increasing school retention, seeing that we don't have any dropout because of teenage pregnancy. And I needed a group to help me grow that, and I found it in the Global Shapers community.
You're also an entrepreneur. You're based in Kenya. You have a business of your own. How does this benefit your business, and how has your business journey been since you've become a Global Shaper?
So it's been a journey getting to where I am, but I would say being a Global Shaper has given me a platform. For instance, I work in sustainability and inclusive development. I assist organizations transition and prioritize people and planet, and I also work with rural communities, just looking at alternative sources of income other than relying on forests or cutting down trees. And being here and being able to interact with some of these CEOs of big corporations who are struggling with how do we transition into nature-friendly services and business and products. So meeting them and telling them what I do and being able to interact has given me an opportunity to also grow my business into other regions of the continent as well as collaborating. Yesterday I was talking with a lady who would want to collaborate with me to help us spread to the rest of Africa. So it has given me a huge opportunity, and I would encourage people in South Africa and elsewhere who will watch this show to apply to be global.
So global warming and climate change are big topics of discussion here at the World Economic Forum. Now somebody's sitting at home and is really wanting to go into that space and start a small business. What kind of mindset should they have towards the climate, towards sustainability, before they can engage on this?
So first and foremost, you have to have an open mind. But then I prefer to tell people to start where you are. Look at how climate change is affecting you. How is it affecting your people? And look for a solution that can counter that problem. So we say Africans are inherently entrepreneurs, but we do trade. We are not innovators. We need to start innovating to solve our problems. And I look at the problems that we are facing as opportunities for us to make money, for young people to get into business, to prioritize impacting our own people. I get very emotional when I start talking about the opportunities we have. But the governments also have a role to play in impacting skills that are needed to solve the developmental challenges that we are facing. We are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, for instance. Uplink was launched, a platform for everybody who is in innovation to showcase, to learn, to test, to collaborate. So there are a lot of opportunities that we cannot tap into if we don't have the opportunities. Yeah.
Wanjori, thank you so much for joining us on SME On Point. We really do appreciate it and wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors. We really thank you. Well, that was Wanjori Njoroge. She's an entrepreneur from Kenya, and she's also a WEF Global Shaper. And I'm keen to hear from you what you think of everything that she says and what your view on climate change is as an entrepreneur. Do send me an email on le@sabc.co.za. My Twitter and Facebook handles are @Liabo Setho. Well, that's it from SME On Point for this week in Davos in Switzerland.